Just in case you missed it, a brief recap of the previous 5. And now, without further ado, the completion of this list.
Number 5, the AAA Mega Championship. Like some other titles on this list, the AAA Mega Championship is a unification of 4 different championships. The International Wrestling Council's Heavyweight Championship, the Grand Prix Championship Wrestling Super X Monster Championship, the Universal Wrestling Association's Light Heavyweight Championship, and perhaps most importantly, the Mexican National Heavyweight Championship. These were all unified in 2007. Now put that all in perspective. This means the Mega Championship, which can be traced legitimately to 1934, when Francisco Aguayo defeated Manuel Hernandez to become the inaugural Mexican National Heavyweight Champion, but also includes the legacy of IWC and UWA, which includes so many luchadors who have each held this title, like Rey Mendoza, Perro Aguayo, Cien Caras, and Conan. With such a rich history, the highest prize in AAA, which carries all this prestige already, is only gaining momentum and importance, as current legends such as Jeff Jarrett, Dr. Wagner Jr., and El Texano Jr. have each won the title, as well as current contenders for Best Wrestler in the World, such as Rey Fenix and Kenny Omega. Awesome. Number 4, the WWE Championship. It would be the definition of ignorance not to include this title. Established in 1963, when then WWF succeeded from the NWA. This title has been around for quite a while, going through several variants, but the idea always remains the same. Holding this title, Vince hates belts and straps. Holding this title means you are at the top of WWE, unless you're CM Punk or Bray Wyatt. Being around for over 50 years, this championship has been held by legends like Bruno Sammartino, superstar Billy Graham, Pedro Morales, and Bob Backlund, each holding it for significantly long reigns. As wrestling modernized in the 80s, we've seen it go around the wrist of our favorite all-time greats like Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, and Randy Savage. As time progressed, we went into the new generation era, seeing Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, and even Yokozuna hold the title. All legends in their own right. Unfortunately, we would move into the Attitude Era, which made the WWE title into more of a hot potato, with 7 separate championships in 1999 alone. However, since the departure of he who shall not be mentioned, we have seen the title's legitimacy return. Also worth mentioning, the designs, whether it be the old WWF title or one of the many winged eagled versions, they all looked better than the current version. I don't really care for the overly boring W of the WWE Championship or the Blue Universal title. Just saying. Number 3, the Big Gold. I call this title the Big Gold because I'm the gangster nerd and I can do what I want. Fight me. This belt has served as the top prize or a top prize in 3 different companies, which is a lot more than some belts can say. First unveiled by all-time great Ric Flair, while World Heavyweight Champion in the NWA, this title would be around the waist of several all-time greats like Barry Windham, Ricky Steamboat, Dusty Rhodes, and even the Great Muta. However, wrestling history had bigger plans than just the NWA. After Ric Flair parted with WCW, still part of the NWA, he would keep the Big Gold, since it turned out he owned it. He would show up on WWF television, displaying the Big Gold as the real World's Championship. Yes, I know, Jerry Lawler did it first, running off with the AWA Verne Gagne Championship. But this was a bit bigger than that. And after some legal battles and Ric Flair getting paid, the Big Gold was bought back to WCW as the WCW International Heavyweight Championship, held by legends like Rick Rude and Sting. Later, the WCW International Heavyweight Championship and the WCW World Heavyweight Championship would be unified, with the Big Gold remaining the physical belt. WCW would use this title all the way until the door closed in 2001. Some wrestlers who held this title during this period were Sting, Lex Luger, Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan, and Jeff Jarrett. After WWF bought WCW, the Big Gold would jump around until ultimately unified with the WWF World Heavyweight title by Chris Jericho as the Undisputed Championship. Later, both titles would be replaced by a single belt, though not for long, as the Big Gold would be right back and awarded to Triple H. The title would stay around, remaining a top prize within the WWF, now WWE, all the way up until 2013 when it was officially retired. Awesome. Number 2, the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Japan, yet again, who could have thought? New Japan Pro Wrestling's top prize, and perhaps the most prestigious championship in all of Japan, the International Wrestling Grand Prix Heavyweight Championship. This title can be a bit confusing, but this is wrestling. The IWGP Heavyweight Championship originated twice. Yes, twice. The first time in 1983 when Hulk Hogan defeated Antonio Inoki in the finals of the IWGP League of that year to become the very first IWGP Heavyweight Champion. After this, the title would be defended annually against the winner of that year's league until 1987 when the title began being defended regularly. Learning the history of this title is exactly like learning about the greatest wrestlers of all time, with legendary names such as Antonio Inoki, Tatsumi Fujinami, Big Van Vader, and Kaiji Muto, all laying claim to this title. It only seems fitting that several of the modern day contenders for best wrestler in the world each have held it as well, including Kazuchika Okada, AJ Styles, Kenny Omega, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Jay White. 5-star ratings are nothing unusual for IWGP title matches, with some matches even being awarded 6 and 7 stars. The only title on this list to generate such competition. Adding even further to the prestige, this title has even been held and defended by legitimate pro MMA fighters such as Brock Lesnar and Bob Sapp. But even if that don't persuade you, perhaps it's the fact that the IWGP Heavyweight Championship is the only championship in all of professional wrestling that has its own intro music. No lie, look it up. Number 1, the National Wrestling Alliance World's Heavyweight Championship. There can only be one, and to the gangster nerd, there is no question. Universally recognized as the first legitimate World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship, with a legacy that goes back to Orville Brown in 1948, but can be legitimately traced back to George Hackenschmidt in 1905. It is most commonly known as the 10 pounds of gold, or the domed globe, but has had several variants. It is without a doubt the single most prestigious and most important championship in professional wrestling today. Without this title, Buddy Rogers is only a one-time WWF champion, thus taken away from Bruno Sammartino's historic first championship run and the championship's legacy. Without the NWA World title, there is no reason for Verne Gagne to form the AWA and the AWA World title. Imagine the history of wrestling without these pivotal moments. To add to that, the NWA Heavyweight title was the first title to be legitimately defended around the world, with contests happening everywhere from the US to Japan, to Mexico, to Australia, New Zealand, and even Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. Along with that, though not always recognized, it was the first to be held by competitors from all around the world, such as Canada's Whipper Billy Robinson, Japan's Giant Baba, New Zealand's Pat O'Connor, Mexico's Blue Demon Jr., Puerto Rico's Carlos Colon, and even the Dominican Republic's Jack Venano. Now I know it's 2020 and things have changed. The NWA is not the same thing it was before I was born. However, to me, the two titans of wrestling currently, WWE and New Japan, both owe a lot of their legitimacy to the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, as both companies' highest prize evolved from it. And its importance lives on to this very day, as it's now a highly valued prize in the world of wrestling thanks to its revitalization by megastar Nick Aldis.
Oh what, you didn't think I had a couple of these? Yeah. So anyway, that's the list. You know I'm right. You can argue about it, but I don't see why. I'm a double champion. I'm Walt, the most gangster nerd on YouTube, and I'll be seeing you soon enough.